Okay, recording now our very first session in 120, Anatomy, Physiology. And we'll take a look at this particular course. Just like we said for 110, Acoustics, this is one of the foundation courses of the HIS program. There's no lab to it, it's all just theory. And I'm going to show you now, I'll share a screen and show you where it is that we're going in this course. All right? So let's see if I can pull this guy up here. All right, if you take a look at this slide here, you will see Unit 1, Unit 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Unit 1 is what we're doing today. It's just introduction, overview of the whole ear, from stem to stern. We're looking at the outer, the middle, and the inner ears. Okay, so we're going to see the whole thing kind of as from a bird's eye view. Next week, we'll go into the outer and outer ear. So again, the blue is always your notes. The red is always the corresponding PowerPoint to the notes. And of course, like we said in acoustics class, it's always good to have the notes printed up ahead of time, sitting beside you on your desk. That way you can scroll and make notes to yourself or highlight or whatever you want. Don't think you have to print up the PowerPoint slides because that's insane. That'd be way too much paper. Leave the PowerPoint slides alone on your computer. I'm showing those. So whatever you have is exactly what I have. Okay, I don't have anything more than you do. All I ask is that you print up the notes ahead of time. But I'm lecturing straight from the notes, and the PowerPoint slides that I've given to you are exactly the ones I have here. Sew buttons and become a tailor. So here we go. Notes, overview, anatomy, physiology of the ear. When you're looking at this course, anatomy is the form, okay? It's what it is. Oh, I'm graying this out so you can see it more clearly. Anatomy is what it is, and physiology is what it does. That's why the two words, they are always used together, but they are separate. Anatomy is the form, physiology is the function, what it does, how it works. Now the outer ear, if you look at this guy, they sometimes call it the auricle or pinna. And let's take a peek at it in our PowerPoint slide. Okay, here's an overview of the entire ear, kind of like a schematic. It's just a great big ugly black and white picture, but let's start from the left. Here's a tuning fork making sound. Here's the outer ear and ear canal. Now the ear canal is about an inch long. The length of the ear canal from where you put your finger in your ear to your eardrum. Your eardrum is about the size of your pinky when you look at it. When you look at the end of your finger, take your finger and the end of it. That's about the size of your eardrum. So your eardrum isn't very large, it's a small thing. And let's make sure we understand metric. I know you guys in the States are using inches and feet and miles and Fahrenheit, and I want you to know you guys are the only country besides England in the entire world that's still on that system. Everyone else has gone metric. That doesn't mean you're not nice people. I'm an American too. So here we go. Let's make a conversion. Okay, a centimeter is about my fingernail. That's about a centimeter. If you put 2.5 of them together, you'll have about an inch. So an inch is about 2.5 centimeters. It's very important to have that down because science is in metric. It always is in metric. Science doesn't use miles. Science uses kilometers. Science doesn't use Fahrenheit. Science uses Celsius. So let's talk temperature. What's freezing in the US? 32. In the rest of the world, freezing is 0. What's boiling in the US? 212. What's boiling in the rest of the world? 100. Easier, isn't it? Metric is way easier. 0 is freezing and 100 is boiling. In the States, 32 is freezing and 212 is boiling. See what I'm saying? How many feet is in a mile? 5,280. How many meters in a kilometer? 1,000. How many millimeters in a meter? 1,000. How many centimeters in a meter? 100. Everything's on 10. It just works. Metric is so easy. Anyway, the ear canal is about 1 inch long or 2.5 centimeters long. Okay, that's just important to know. All right, share screen here. Take a look here. Then you have the middle ear, right where I'm pointing here. The middle ear. The middle ear space houses 3 bones. And you may have heard of these called the hammer, the anvil, and the stirrup. But they're actually, and we'll look at it more later, they're called the malleus, M-A-L-L-E-U-S, malleus. The incus is the middle bone. And the stapes, S-T-A-P-E-S, is the stirrup. So I'll point at them. The malleus, the incus, the stapes. Now, what's the largest bone in your body is your femur, your thigh bone. Okay, your thigh bone is the largest bone in the body. The smallest bone in the body is the stapes, or stirrup, one of the 3 little bones of the middle ear. Okay, the stapes. And if we point to the stapes, it would be right here. Now let's go to the inner ear. The inner ear is way overdrawn in this picture. It's too big. The inner ear is basically, again, about the size of your fingertip. If you turned it this way, the inner ear is about this big, like a sugar cube. It's small. So think of a sugar cube. That's about the size of your middle ear, and a sugar cube is about the size of your inner ear. So drawings like this aren't always really very exact. They're drawing the inner ear too large. It should be smaller. It should be about the size of the eardrum. Now you're going to see this coil. It's shaped like a coil. And then some people would say it's shaped like a snail. Well, the inner ear is called the cochlea, C-O-C-H-L-E-A, cochlea. And cochlea is the Greek word for snail shell. Okay? Cochlea, snail shell. Now, the cochlea is everything. If you don't have a cochlea, you're deaf. Okay? The cochlea changes sound waves into electricity. And electricity is the language your brain runs on. The outer ear helps to bring sound to where it's got to go. The middle ear helps to bring sound to where it's got to go. And where does sound got to go? To the cochlea, the inner ear. The inner ear is the holy of holies. It is the sanctuary. It is everything. Okay? So, going from the cochlea, you'll see this little thing here called it's a nerve. And what nerve is it called? It's called the 8th nerve. Now, we call it in our field VIII, the Roman numeral, okay? VIII. We don't call it 8th, like the 8, but it's the same thing. It's the 8th cranial nerve. Why do we call it the 8th cranial nerve? Well, look at your head. Now I'm holding my head, okay? How many nerves come off of the brain in my head? 12 pairs. They're called cranial nerves. Think of your spinal cord. It runs up your spine, right? When your spinal cord enters your head, it's called your brain stem. Now, your brain stem, it's about this long, okay? About an inch, inch and a half, about an inch, okay? Your brain stem is very thin. It's about, it's about as thick as a pen. If you cut it, you're dead, okay? Everything, a brain stem is your spinal cord in your skull. So pretend this is the base of my skull. Spinal cord, when it enters the skull, this is the brain stem. Off of the brain stem are 12 pairs of nerves. One's for your tongue, eyes, smell, the touch of cheeks, various things. And the 8th pair is for balance and hearing. So back to here, this is called your 8th cranial nerve. Right here. One here on the right side, one from the left side. And look at this, there's crossover. Now they're drawing a wee little brain here. Okay, this isn't to scale at all, but this is your brain. So the 8th cranial nerve carries sound information from the cochlea or inner ear to the brain stem. Okay, and from there things cross over to the opposite sides. So here when you're looking on the right hand side where my cursor is now, they're showing you these tiny little filaments in here. Those little filaments are called hair cells. So inside of your cochlea, what's inside of the cochlea are tiny hair cells. And they're not like hair on a head. They're smaller, okay? But they move with sound. And when those hair cells move, they change the sound into electricity. And the electrical current goes up the 8th nerve to the brain, and you hear a sound. So let's kind of look at, let's read now what we've got in our notes and look at our PowerPoint slides. I will take this one away. Okay, here's another picture though. Just look at it closer. Okay, here's the outer ear canal, 2.5 centimeters in length, eardrum, malleus, incus, stapes, the 3 smallest bones of the body. And what's in this area? Air. Just air. It's not fluid, it's air. And look at this tube going down. The tube going down here is called your eustachian tube. E-U-S-T-C-H-I-A-N. Eustachian tube. And it goes down to your tonsils, right here. That's why when you blow your nose real hard, you feel it in your ears. And what do you feel? Air going up. See where my cursor is? Up into here. Okay? When you get an earache, like children often get, an earache, that's when this area gets infected. You've had tonsillitis, you've had a sore throat, and the infection crawls up this tube, and it infects the middle ear, and now the middle ear space is filled with pus, fluid, and that's called an earache. That hurts. Okay? Medicine can fix earaches. They do it in several different ways that we'll be talking about. Earaches are not so that can cause hearing loss, but it's medically treatable. What's the main problem in the outer ear? Earwax. Earwax. That's not a problem either. Earwax in the outer ear canal is like mucus in the nose. It's good for you. Earwax is called cerumen. C-E-R-U-M-E-N. Cerumen. Cerumen is a bug retardant. Bugs don't like wax. Okay? What's the temperature in your ear canal? Nurses take your temperature with your ear canal now, don't they, with a thermometer? Your temperature in your ear canal is almost 98.6 in Fahrenheit. Okay? Bugs would love to crawl in there. Nice and warm. They don't like the taste of earwax. It's one reason you have earwax, is it's a bug retardant. It also keeps your ear canal lubricated. But too much earwax, and people use Q-tips, and all you're doing is pushing the wax to where it shouldn't go. And we'll talk more about that next week. But at any rate, earwax blocks a bit of sound. Okay, and that can be a problem in the outer ear. Middle ear, infection. And so an earache with pus here, that'll block the passage of sound. But where's the passage of sound going to? To the inner ear. Okay? It's all about the inner ear. Now, When you have a blockage of sound, either due to wax or due to middle ear infection, that's called a conductive hearing loss, as in electricity is conducted in a wire. Conductive. Conductive means you're blocking the passage of sound. Conductive hearing losses can be fixed. Medicine can fix conductive hearing loss. You can remove earwax, and you can also remove middle ear infections. Okay? Those are causes of conductive hearing loss. Elderly people don't have that. The population we are servicing doesn't have a problem so much with earwax. They might a little bit, but that's not. And elderly people don't get ear infections very often. It's kids that get ear infections, okay? Not adults. You know why? We'll talk about that too, but their eustachian tubes are flatter. Their heads are smaller. And when you've got a squatter head and flatter eustachian tubes, infection goes there more easily. If you've got a longer head, as you get as an adult, your eustachian tubes are more vertical. You got gravity working in your favor. Infection doesn't go up as easily. That's why it's a bad idea for moms to nurse a baby while laying down. Not smart, because the baby swallows and the milk goes up into his ears or her ears. Bad idea. Okay? Nurse sitting up. No better. Any nurse will tell you that. Okay? So I'm not a doctor. I'm just a, what do you call it? I'm a PhD, post-hole digger. Or what do they call it? Poor honest doctor, as opposed to an MD, a money doctor. Anyway, so I digress. Anyway, elderly people have problems with the hair cells of the inner ear. Elderly people don't have a conductive hearing loss. Elderly people's hearing loss is called presbycusis. Presbycusis sounds like Presbyterian. Well, Presbyterian means Church of the Elders. That's what it means, literally. Presbyopia means your arms aren't long enough to see the page. I'm past 40. I've got presbyopia. That's why I wear reading glasses, because I can't see stuff close up. I can see stuff far away. I just can't see stuff close up. When you hit 40, you get presbyopia. Okay? Your arms aren't long enough to see the page. So presby is the Greek word for elder. Presbyopia, vision in the elderly. Presbycusis, presbycusis, hearing in the elderly. Presbyterian, Church of the Elders. Okay? Presby is the Greek word for elder. All right. You know what the Latin word is for elder? Senex. Senile. Senator. We won't go there. Anyway, you know what I mean. But it is. I'm not lying. This is it's good to kind of flesh things out, because then we get a whole contextual grip of where we're going. So elderly people, their problem is in here. And when you think of this inner ear, think of it as the retina of your eyes. The back of your eyeball is called the retina, and the retina changes light into electricity. Well, the cochlea changes sound into electricity. And most people don't have problems with the retina of the ear, of the eye, I should say. The eyeball is either too long or too short. So light isn't properly conducted to the retina. So you wear glasses to refocus the light upon the retina, and God's in his heaven and all's well with the world. Well, what would happen if I went to you and scratched the back of your eyes? Now I ruined your retinas. Now if you put on glasses, it's going to help, but it isn't going to fix. That's what hearing loss is in the elderly. It's damage to the retina, in quotes, of the ear. And that's why hearing aids for the ear are not like glasses for the eye. That's why hearing aids cost more than glasses. Glasses are simple. You're fixing a conductive vision loss. Think of the word conductive. The passage of something. Electricity conducts, or a wire conducts electricity. Okay? your eyeball conducts light to the retina. Your ears, outer ear and middle ears, conduct sound to the cochlea. A conductor drives the train, okay? Conduction means to go. All right, so if you've got a conductive vision loss, it's problems with light getting to where it's got to go. And 95% of vision loss is conductive. It's easily fixed with things called glasses, okay? Not hearing. Hearing aids have to fix a sensory neural hearing loss. Sensory, S-E-N-S-O-R-I, sensory dash neural, N-E-U-R-A-L, sensory neural. You can make it a short form by writing the letters S-N-H-L. Sniffle, okay? S-N-H-L is a very common word used in our field. It's called sensory neural hearing loss. 95% of people with hearing loss have sensory neural hearing loss. Only 5% of people with hearing loss have conductive hearing loss. And conductive hearing loss can be fixed. Sensory neural can't. You can't medically fix it. What's the only treatment for sensory neural hearing loss? Hearing aids. That's why we have a field. Okay? So I'm a big believer in context. I think that the overall picture, if you draw that out right away at the very beginning, you're building a foundation that's built on solid ground. And that's what I'm trying to do here. So that as we go on, you'll always remember this initial laying out of the ground. So it's really important in our field because the public doesn't get it. They don't get it. The public is really bummed out at the price of hearing aids. They can't figure it out. And that's because we're often pretty poor teachers. We don't explain it. And you have to, okay? You have to really like working with people. You have to like explaining things. Because when you explain it well, then you're nipping it in the bud right away. If you don't explain very well and you've made a sale on hearing aids, the devil is going to come and bite you in the rear again because the person's going to come back with questions after questions and you're not earning a dime. So it's really important. Now look at this picture of the cochlea. This too is too big. It should be about the size of the eardrum. It's overblown and overdrawn in size. This is a better picture. This one makes more sense. Because now the cochlea is drawn like it's the same size as the eardrum. Ear canal, 1 inch, 2.5 centimeters long. Eardrum, malleus, incus, stapes. Cochlea, and these are the balance organs. And your balance and hearing are sent up the 8th cranial nerve to the brain. And here's the middle ear space filled with air. There's the eustachian tube going down to the throat. Okay, here's another picture. Again, from a different artist or whatever. Ear canal, you can see how it's not straight? Your ear canals aren't. They're shaped like a dog leg. Okay, your ear canals are not normally like a straight tunnel. They have a bit of a bend in them. Eardrum, malleus, incus, stapes, cochlea. And then 8 balance organs, and then the 8th nerve sending the info from both the balance organs and the cochlea straight to the brain. Here's another picture, okay? Outer ear, middle ear, inner ear. Outer ear canal, eardrum, middle ear space with the 3 tiny bones, and then the balance organs and the cochlea. Now look at the cochlea. They're showing you can see it better. You can see how it's a series of tunnels. You can see how sometimes they call it a labyrinth. And you'll be studying for about 3 or 4 weeks in the semester, all about the cochlea. Remember, this is the overview, totally. And then here's the hearing nerve, or the 8th cranial nerve, that sends info to the brain. And this is eustachian tube to, it says pharynx. Freak not out. Pharynx just means throat. Okay? Eustachian tube to throat. Okay, here's your ear, here's your outer ear. Look closely at it. And now look closely at me and you. Grab the end of your nose. See how you can bend it? Okay, yep. Now grab the top of your nose. You can't. Okay, the skin covers bone, and here the skin covers cartilage. It's the same thing with the ear. So if you're looking at the outer ear, the skin of your ear canal covers cartilage here. Look where my cursor is. And then it covers bone here. So the outer half of your ear canal, the skin covers cartilage. The inner half of your ear canal, the skin covers bone. Now, again, grab your ear and look at how you can wiggle it. Okay, that's the cartilaginous portion. The inner half of your ear canal, the skin covers bone. So when you use a Q-tip, okay, here's what you're doing. Wax grows, look where my cursor is, right from here. The skin here and the skin here produces wax. So wax doesn't begin in the inside of your ear canal. Wax forms on the outer half of your ear canal. When you use a Q-tip, you're actually pushing the wax further in than it belongs. So that's why doctors always tell you never put anything in your ear smaller than your elbow. In other words, don't mess around in there, because all you're probably doing is adding more grief. Q-tips aren't removing wax, they end up pushing it in further. Now, let's look at our notes here and see where we are. Let's read. Outer ear. It's called the auricle or pinna. It's also one of the most useless parts of your ear. It's the largest. It's good to hang glasses behind. You can hang earrings on it, whatever. But look at your ear canal. It's about 1 inch long. Eardrum is sometimes called tympanic membrane. And your eardrum separates the outer from the middle ear. And the function of the outer ear, it gathers sound, and it actually resonates with the high frequencies of sound. What does that mean in English? Let's see if I've got a picture of that. I may, and I may not. Okay, good, I don't. We'll cover that next week anyway. We don't need to worry. Let's talk about resonance. Remember we did in acoustics? We said mass resonates with low pitches and stiffness resonates with high pitches. Guess what? Your ear. Look at the shape. Like a wine glass at Christmas. When you lick your finger, you done that with a pop bottle, okay, that's called resonance. Your outer ear has the shape it does because its mass and its stiffness properties, guess what? They resonate with high pitches of speech. When you say the word speech, listen to the word speech. What's the loudest part of speech? E. E. Hold your hand to your throat. Feel your throat? E. Ah. Those are vowels. Vowels are loud and low. Now say the letter S. S. Sh. Your throat isn't vibrating, is it? Okay? Those sounds are high-pitched. So if you say the word fat, hat, sat, bat, cat, they all have ah, ah, ah. Well, the ah is the loud part, and it's low. It's the lip sounds that are the consonants. And consonants are high-pitched, as opposed to vowels, which are low-pitched, A, E, I, O, U. All words have vowels, don't they? There's not one single word in English without a vowel. So you have thousands of words, they have to share 5 vowels. What makes the words different from each other? Hat, fat, bat, sat, cat. That's exactly what elderly people can't hear. High pitches. So they think young people are mumbling. You're always talking like this all the time. I can't hear what you said. You're always talking like they're hearing the vowels. They can't hear treble. Presbycusis is trouble hearing treble. When you can't hear treble, you can't hear the consonants. When you can't hear the consonants, you can't hear the letter T, S, F, CH, SH. You're missing those. So you hear, but you can't tell what they said. Did they say dishes or fishes? Kittens or mittens? Okay? Think about it. That's presbycusis. Your outer ear has the shape it does because it emphasizes treble. Your outer ear naturally resonates with treble. So your ear has this shape, and it's a gift from the Creator or from the great whomever so that we can hear speech better. The ear is married to speech. If we didn't talk, our ears wouldn't have this shape. We'd have dog or cat's ears. Okay? The thing is, all fits together in what I think is an amazingly beautiful picture. I just think it's phenomenal. So here's your outer ear canal, and here's what it does. What happens if you have no outer ears? You get a little bit of high-pitched hearing loss because you no longer have that added resonance. Okay? EAM stands for external auditory meatus. EAM in English means ear canal. Okay? EAM, external auditory meatus. Meatus is the Latin word for tunnel. EAM. The most common outer ear pathology, wax. And what does it do? Causes a mild conductive hearing loss. Now look at the middle ear. Let's look at the middle ear. Here's your middle ear. The middle ear, and I'll blow it up and make it bigger. It's about the size of a sugar cube. Here's the eardrum. Notice that that it's shaped like a speaker cone. You see that? It's not a flat thing. It's actually shaped kind of like a speaker cone. And look at the way the first bone is attached to it. Just at the top half. And then you got the malleus, incus, stapes. Those are the three, what they call ossicles, middle ear ossicles. The ossicular chain. Ossicles is a word meaning bone. Okay? And then behind here, of course, they're drawing the cochlea. Now, why do you have a middle ear? Yeah, we talked about why you have an outer ear. Let's talk why you got a middle ear. How does sound travel to your ear? Through air. Okay, but what if your head was under a swimming pool? What if your head was underwater and I'm standing at the edge of the pool and you're swimming under the water? If I talk to you, are you going to hear me? No, because my voice is going to bounce off of the water. Okay, what is your cochlea filled with? Other than hair cells, your cochlea is filled with fluid. All right? So it's going to do the same thing. Airborne sound is going to hit the eardrum. It's going to wiggle these ossicles, but they won't be able to push the fluid. Okay, the sound is going to bounce right off of the water. Something has to help airborne sound activate a fluid-filled cochlea, and that something is called your middle ear. Once again, look at the size of the drum versus the size of the stirrup or stapes. Here, look at how big the drum is. Look at how small the stapes is. Keep that in mind now when we do this little exercise. Push your hand against the side of your face. Now push your hand really hard against the side of your face. Now stop. You had a lot of force over a big area, not much pressure. Now take your fingertip, put it against your cheek. Now push really hard. That hurts, didn't it? See? Because you had the same force, but instead of being diverted over a big area, now the force was on a tiny little area. What did you just do? You increased the pressure. Okay? Pressure is force over an area. And that's why you have a middle ear. Because look at this. Sound is hitting a big eardrum, and that force is being converged onto a little area. You've just increased the sound pressure. So now the sound can activate the fluid-filled cochlea. That's why you have a middle ear. See, you have everything for a reason. All right? There is a reason for the season. So here's a picture of nothing. I have no idea, just a white square. Okay. This is a picture of the sun if you stare into it. Okay. Okay, here's another picture of your middle ear. All right, so now let's go and look at your notes here, middle ear. Still not the heart and soul of hearing. The tympanic membrane is another word for eardrum. Okay, so tympanic membrane has 3 layers. Your eardrum has 3 layers of skin, and they come from the 3 original embryonic layers of tissue that a fetus has right after, or that the embryo has right after conception. So the embryonic disc at age 1 day, 2 days, for the first week or so after pregnancy, you've got 3 layers of tissue. And those layers of tissue turn into muscles and bones, nerve and skin, and also intestines and all your organs. Well, the eardrum is the one area of your body that preserves all 3 of those layers. There's 1 layer from each of those 3 in your eardrum. The middle ear space, we'll talk more about that later, mañana, don't worry about it. The middle ear space is a closed space filled with air, about the size of a sugar cube. It contains the 3 ossicles, the smallest in the body, the malleus, incus, and stapes. And of course, of these, the stapes is the smallest. The eustachian tube connects the middle ear space to the back of your throat. The function of the middle ear changes. Oh, circle that word, transduces. That's a big word in this field. Transduce means change. Changing energy from one form to another. Transduce. Okay? The middle ear transduces sound into mechanical energy. So let's look at it. Sound hits the eardrum, and now the sound waves wiggle the ossicles. So that wiggling of the ossicles is no longer sound anymore. That's a pushing in and out. That's called mechanical energy. So the middle ear changes or transduces sound waves into mechanical piston-like energy, pushing in and out. Okay? Because this stapes is pushed in and out of, look at this word here, oval window. And that's the window into the cochlea. The oval window is this. Okay? That's the oval window. The stapes has a foot plate on it, shaped like a stirrup, and it pushes in and out of the oval window, and thus wiggles the fluid inside the cochlea, which in turn wiggles the tiny hair cells. Now let's look at the top of the head. So we'll go back to our notes here. Function of the middle ear changes sound into mechanical energy and sends sound onto the inner ear. And what's another function of the middle ear? It increases sound pressure by about 30 to 35 decibels, dB. See that dB? Little d, big B. Decibels. It increases the sound pressure by some 30 to 35 decibels so that it can activate inner ear or cochlear fluids. So what happens if you've got problems to the middle ears or no middle ears? Just like the outer ear, you have a conductive hearing loss. The amount depends on the headphone. Don't worry about that. You'll learn about that later. Just circle about 60 dB. If you had completely messed up middle ears, you'd have about a 60 decibel hearing loss. In English, that means you'd need sounds to be at least 60 decibels to just barely hear. Normally, we can hear down to 0. You'd have about a 60 decibel hearing loss, but you're not deaf. Okay? A conductive hearing loss can't be total. It's going to be part. It'll cause you hearing loss, but A, it's treatable, and B, it's not huge. It's significant, but it isn't everything. The most common conductive hearing loss in children, okay? Eustachian tubes are more horizontal. That's why children get more middle ear infection than adults do. So children are more susceptible to a conductive hearing loss. Inner ear. Let's look at this guy. This is the heart and soul of hearing. This is everything. Let's look at pictures, just for fun. If you're looking at the top of a head, and I'll blow this up and make it bigger, and you took out someone's brains, okay, the back of his head is going to be here, the front of his head is going to be here, where his eyes are, and inside the skull are see the cochlea and the balance organs. Cochlea and balance organs. This is another orientation. Here's a person looking at you, and behind the eye is the cochlea. Here's the outer ear canal, external auditory meatus, eardrum, malleus, incus, stapes, and the cochlea, balance organs, eighth nerve, eustachian tube going down to the throat or to the tonsils. And the tip of the cochlea is aimed toward the back of the eyes. And notice that the cochlea is more medial, it's more central than the balance organs are. The balance organs are a little bit further out. The cochlea is a little bit more medial or to the center. Now here's the side of the skull. It's called the temporal bone. Your skull isn't all one piece. The temporal bone is the side of the skull. So all this area here, this is inside the temporal bone. Okay, if you took away the temporal bone and turned it around inside, so here's the temporal bone that they're showing you here. If you took that out and turned it around, inside of it is the middle ear and the cochlea, okay? Now sometimes people, the jaw, if you look at where the jawbone meets and look at the ear canal, it's right near the outer ear canal. Sometimes people get arthritis here of the jaw. They call it temporal mandibular joint. Temporal bone, mandible, your jaw. And it hurts here in the ear. And they'll often go to an ear person saying, my ear hurts. But actually they should go to the dentist. Okay, it's TMJ, temporal mandibular joint syndrome. Anyway, this is a slide of something that I was trying to talk about earlier to you. Okay, fitting the eye is different from fitting the ear. Here's an eye. Light comes in through the lens. Here's the retina, the back of your eye. If light isn't properly focused upon the retina, you'll have problems seeing. So you go to the optometrist and you get glasses, and you wear the glasses to refocus this incoming light so it's planted right on the retina. And then you've got good vision. Now let's go to the ear. Okay, here's this yellow is the end of your ear canal, eardrum, malleus, incus, stapes. Okay, here's your balance organs. Here's the cochlea. Now, most problems with vision are in this area. And this is literally like the retina itself of the ear. There's usually no problem with sound getting to the cochlea. Only when there's a lot of earwax or when there's middle ear infection, then you've got a conductive hearing loss, and that can be fixed, and then you can hear good again. You hear well again. But in most people, it's the inner ear or cochlea that's damaged itself. And that, to me, is the same as damaging the retina of the eye itself. So 95% of people with vision loss have problems with light getting to the retina. 95% of people with hearing loss have damage to the retina, in quotes, of the ear itself. Now, here's another weird thing about hearing loss. about presbycusis, about hearing loss in the elderly. And you're going to see this graph a lot. I want you to look at it there for this first time so we can kind of get a grip on a little bit of this, okay? Here goes. The horizontal axis is decibels, from 0 to way up there, really loud. And the vertical axis represents your perceptions of it, your psychoacoustics, as we said in 110. So follow this normal loudness line, the diagonal line. Normal hearing people, 10 decibels is really soft. Normal hearing people, 20 decibels is really soft. Normal hearing people, 50 decibels is comfortable. Normal hearing people, 90 plus is too loud. Now let's talk presbycusis. Now let's talk what happens when you've got hearing loss in the elderly due to inner ear hearing loss. Now they're following this line. To them, 50 decibels sounds comfortable, and yet 90 sounds too loud. Look, the line's met. Isn't that weird? That's why you can't shout into a hard of hearing person's ear, because he's going to wind up and punch you in the head. Look what happens. Their floor went up, but their ceiling of loudness tolerance didn't change. Okay? Instead of me standing on the floor in this room with my feet on the ground and my ceiling up here, now I'm standing on the chair. And the ceiling hasn't moved. Okay? So what happens is they can't hear soft sounds like 0. They can only hear about 50. And yet 90 or 100 is too loud. That's the trick to understanding hearing loss. So hearing aids have to amplify, look at this, soft sounds by a lot and loud sounds by little or nothing at all. And that is called compression. I'll show you, so you're going to remember this for the rest of your lives in this field. Compression is why hearing aids cost so much. Hearing aids are amplifiers. They make sounds louder, but they make soft sound. If soft sounds come into the microphone of the hearing aid really amplifies. But if loud sounds come into the hearing aid backs off. Jack. Okay? Hearing aids have to change the amount by which they amplify depending on the loudness of the sound coming in. So if I speak really soft, the hearing aid amplifies by a lot. If I start to raise my voice, the hearing aid automatically backs off. That's one reason why hearing aids cost thousands instead of $10. Okay? I want you to think this. I'm not making this up. I'll show you something. Here is a textbook you will be using next year called Compression for Clinicians, written by me. Okay, you're going to be using this book in your class in 240 and in 250. And it's all about hearing aids. And it's what hearing aids have to do because of sensory neural loss. Hearing aids have to amplify soft sounds by a lot, and they have to amplify loud sounds by little or nothing at all. And why? Damaged hair cells. Here's a picture of hair cells. Let's just look at this. I hate this black bar at the top. Go away. Thank you. Okay, so here's hair cells inside your cochlea, and here's hair cells inside your cochlea. Now, this top hair cells are called inner hair cells. And the bottom hair cells, shaped like V's, those are called outer hair cells. You will learn much more about this, so don't freak about, oh, I got to remember, because he's going to go on and on. No, 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 no. This is an overview. All I'm doing is giving you an overview. We will be spending an entire week next week on the outer ear, concentrating. And then we're spending 2 weeks on the middle ear, concentrating only on the middle ear. Then you're going to spend 4 weeks on the inner ear, focusing only on the inner ear. What I'm doing today is just giving you an overview. So again, FNO, freak not out, okay? Just take a good chill pill and let's relax and watch and dust blinking lights. So you've got inner hair cells here, outer hair cells here. Your cochlea is a two-way street, okay? Inner hair cells send all info to your brain, all sound info to your brain. Without the inner hair cells, you're deaf. But the inner hair cells can't pick up sounds below 50 decibels. They need the outers to help them do it. The outers take info from the brain. Inners send info to the brain, outers take info from the brain. It's a two-way street. Outer hair cells tend to die first. They help the inner hair cells pick up sounds below 50 decibels. So without the outer hair cells, you've got this. You can't hear until 50. Okay? That's what happens. So here's what hearing loss looks like in the elderly. Okay? Damage isn't to the inner hair cells, it's to the outers. Normal, damaged. Normal, damaged. Elderly, presbycusis, trouble hearing treble, okay, that occurs because of damage to these outer hair cells. And now the person can't hear sounds below 50. So the person has a moderate, not a total, because if it was a total hearing loss, you wouldn't hear anything, okay? Moderate means you can't hear till about 50 decibels. Our range of hearing is 0 to about 100. We can't hear till 50. That's called presbycusis. And presbycusis is the most common cause of hearing loss in the world. By far, the most common. Here's a verbal analogy of this slide and this slide. Here's a verbal analogy. Perfect hearing looks like this. Impaired hearing looks like this. Okay? Because the damage is done to the hair cells. Look at this. Okay? So hearing aids can't grow new hair cells. And again, think of this as the retina, in quotes, of the ear. Okay? This is what's changing sound into electricity. So when you've got damage here, it's like me going to the back of your eyes and scratching the retina. So perfect hearing looks like this. Impaired hearing looks like that. Hearing aids can't fill in the missing pieces. They're gone. You can't grow new hair cells. The damage is permanent. You can't get into a cochlea. It's as big as the pinky little finger, and a scalpel can't fix this. It's never gonna, it's gone. So the verbal analogy in English would look like this. In Chinese, it would look like this. It's the same. And by the way, this does mean in Chinese, perfect hearing looks like this, impaired hearing looks like this. I've asked someone to make this from China. So this is actually true, okay? So this is the thing to realize in our general overview of what's going on here. Let's look at our notes. We'll share screen and take a peek at our notes this time. And let's see, I want to make that smaller. Good, to go to our notes. Okay, so cochlea, vestibular system, balance. Each has labyrinths. Don't worry about memorizing them now. They have an osseous, meaning bony, and membranous labyrinths inside of them, tunnels. And each tunnel is filled with a different kind of fluid. The osseous labyrinth is filled with that kind of fluid. The membranous labyrinths are filled with that kind of fluid. Okay, but these labyrinths contain thousands of hair cells. Some are inner hair cells, some are outer hair cells. See that? The function of the inner ear changes or transduces mechanical energy from the middle ear into electrical energy and sends it on up to the 8th nerve. Remember, electricity is the language the brain understands. I've grayed this out here. Okay? What happens if you've got no inner ears? You're deaf as a post. You got nada, brother. Okay? With inner ear hair cell damage, one has sensory neural hearing loss. Sensory neural. Note the two words, sensory and neural. Sensory is mostly outer hair cell damage due to aging, noise exposure, causes mild to moderate sensory neural loss. Neural hearing loss, inner hair cell damage, mostly occurs later on. Further degree of hearing loss, poor speech recognition. You'll learn much more about this in the oncoming semester, believe me. Okay. Most common type of sensory neural loss is presbycusis, trouble hearing treble. Mild to moderate, high frequency. Look at the HZ. High frequency hearing loss. HZ again. It means frequency. Mild to moderate, high frequency hearing loss due to age. This is 95% of all hearing loss. This is the main person you will see in your clinic. Okay, that's why I'm spending time really outlining this. Look at the second most common cause of sensory neural hearing loss. Noise. Noise-induced hearing loss. Usually men, too macho to wear hearing protection. Noise-induced hearing loss also kills off hair cells. So now the guy has hair cell damage before his time. He's 17 or 18 and he's doing rifle practice and he's not wearing earplugs. Or he's working in construction or playing loud music and not wearing earplugs. Noise-induced hearing loss is fairly sad because it's preventable. Aging, you can't prevent it. We all get better with age. I like to compare it with wine. You get better with age, but you tend to lose hearing, okay? Noise-induced hearing loss is the second most common type of sensory neural hearing loss. Not conductive, sensory neural. It kills off hair cells, okay? No, it's permanent, can't fix it, nothing you can do. We talked a little bit about the 8th cranial nerve. Remember, you've got 12 pairs of them. Hearing and balance is the 8th pair. There it is for you to see. Okay? What if you didn't have any 8th nerves? You'd be deaf because there's no message can be sent from the cochlea to the brain. Oftentimes, 8th nerve and brainstem damage is called retrocochlear, behind the cochlea. Retrocochlear hearing loss. Okay, and it, by the way, we're just about at the end here, so we'll stop here very soon. But look what happened to my head. See how my fingers don't straighten out? That's what you might notice sometimes. I had a really bad cycling accident, ruining the fingers, so I can bend them, but I can't totally straighten them. That happened a few years ago, just FYI. You might notice one of my eyebrows looks a little weird too. Yeah, when I was 6 years old, I fell off a toboggan in the snow and got 6 stitches. The eyebrow never did fix right, but anyway, it's been a slice talking to you all. This has been your overview. Your notes continue on just a tad, people. I'll just show you here where they go. Okay, we next talk about the central auditory nervous system. That's the hearing centers of the brain. That's inside what they call the temporal lobes. Your vision part of your brain is the back of your brain. The hearing and speech part of your brain is the sides. Okay? And we won't go much into that today. We're going to leave that alone. But that, by the way, is your last unit. Look at this. Unit 6, 8th nerve, and CANS. What's CANS? Central Auditory Nervous System. That's the hearing centers of the brain. What I'm going to be doing in that section is I'm going to also show you CAT scans and MRIs. So you'll be able to see what the brain looks like. You'll see my brain. I'll show you my daughter's brain. And you're going to look at gray areas and white matter, gray matter, and you're going to look at the temporal lobe areas, the occipital lobe areas, so we'll see that for ourselves. No, we're not going to become doctors, but it's a nice show and tell. All righty then. Let's see if I left. Okay, it's just about 12:30 my time, 2:30 and 3:30 yours. If I had anything else in that I cared about right today, hearing loss terms, so don't worry so much about this stuff here for today. Just leave it, okay? Sometimes you'll see these terms here: itis, plasty, ectomy, algia, oma, okay, osseous. Those are words that's useful for you to know in this field because they deal with pathologies of the ear, and you should make it your business to kind of know what those terms mean, okay? Nurses know what they are. We should too. Then you're going to see stuff here: conductive hearing loss, sensory neural loss. You already had that explained. Okay, so basically I just write here hearing aids and people fitting glasses versus hearing aids, just things like that, just stuff we've talked about. This is just general kind of knowledge here. But I think we've covered enough for today. We're doing just great. Next, what we'll do, same time, same channel, same link, everything, is we will cover the outer ear. We'll focus exclusively on the outer ear, more on its shape, more on pathologies of the outer ear, blah, blah, blah. Enough. All right. Any questions?
Thank you.
Hey, good stuff. Glad you could both show up. What's your little one's name?
Jameson.
Jameson. Cool. All right. Nice to meet you all. Hey, there he is. All right. Adios, amigos.
Thanks. Bye.